I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is The White Buffalo Wish It Was True.
This is from Overshadow Sean.
Overshadow Sean, my homie. What's good,
Apparently
Overshadow
their
Sean?
music was made popular on shows like Sons of Anarchy.
Okay.
Did you ever watch that?
It's a biker show. I watched a couple seasons of it. I think you'd enjoy it.
It sounds like something.
For timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. There are multiple ways to get your song reviewed, dear listener. My favorite is the community option, $1 at the gate, gets you in our Patreon, where you are able to pool your points together with various alliances. The last couple songs we've done have been alliance picks. Mm-hmm. There's other perks, things like that are coming up soon for patrons. You guys get first dibs on. Dorian and I just did a debate about the wage gap. So that's going on Patreon first, that type of thing. When we do the music video
Whether
for the song.
Whether the gender rate wage gap is
unjust.
So
there's lots of perks to be on Patreon. And if you're a filthy capitalist like Sori, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You do that 3 times, you get bumped down to $75 rate for all perpetuity. That being the case, we got the White Buffalo. Let's do it.
Okay. We're doing a laundry. You're gonna intro. Here we go. Oops. Sorry, babe.
Mother, tried to do right by you, to do what you asked me to. I did wrong and I knew. Mother, I try to behave for you. Now I'm a digging a grave for you. It was all I could do. Find a way back home, make everything new. But I wish it was true. Father, well, I gave my soul to you. I came in blindfolded for you. It was all that I knew. Open your arms and I'll fly out of hell up to you. I wish it was true. Come on out from the cold. You're lost outside there, don't you know? It's not what you say, it's what you do. Just keep wishing your wishes are true. With your dreams, they're reality. There's no pain, there's no misery. Just polish the blood and the bruise. There's just no way you can lose. Well, I wish it was true. Country, I was a soldier for you. I did what you asked me to. It was wrong and you knew. Country, now I'm just a stranger to you. A number, a name, it's true. Throw me away when you're through. The home of the brave and the free, the red, white, and blue. Well, I wish it was true.
Yikes.
Well, that's sad.
Yikes.
You know, to be honest with you, whenever there's someone on the side of the road and they're holding a sign and they're asking for money, whenever it's a vet or someone that has served, that's what they're saying that they did. Those are always the ones I feel more like. I never have cash in my pocket. I barely ever have cash in my pocket, but they're the ones that I always feel like, even if they're screwing the system. I mean, they went out, you know what I'm saying? Like, and they fought.
Yeah.
And a lot of them got their heads screwed up by doing what they did for our sake and for our freedoms. So I'm like, that was sad, the last line.
Well, their intention was to do that for our sake and our freedom, but the last couple of wars we've been involved in had nothing to do with that.
Well, that's why he said you knew it was wrong.
I'm not particularly certain that at the beginning of the Iraq War that everybody knew it was wrong. This song came out in 2012, and I'm pretty sure by 2012 we all knew that. I mean, that it was wrong. I mean, it was like 8 years ago, almost 9 years ago. I think everybody pretty much figured out by that time there were no WMDs.
Yeah.
We destabilized the region. You know, it was So I'm not sure that we knew at the beginning, but we definitely kept going, and we kept the conveyor belt of young men who, they joined because they wanted to protect liberty. They joined because they wanted to protect the American way of life. Like, the American soldier joins because, or Marine or Airman or whatever, or Airwoman, whatever. They join because they have that idealism, and of course there's a financial component to it as well. I mean, not denying that, but that's why they join and that's why they do what they do. But the folks who are commanding the military, the presidents, the senators, and all that, like, that's not their motive. So it's one of those things. It's kind of like Vietnam. These dudes came back from Vietnam, and by no means did we have a perfect human rights record in Vietnam at all.
Yep.
But these dudes, they came home and they got spit on. They got called all types of crazy names. And it's like, look, A, the person didn't sign up to go and kill innocent people. They were put in that horrible situation. And B, you had the draft.
Yep.
So a lot of these folks are dragged over there against their will, and then they're plopped in the jungle, and Viet Cong are shooting at them. They're going to shoot back. Like, and they came home to, usually, throughout human history, soldiers usually come back to some sort of fanfare and things like that.
And like you said, a lot of these, they were kids,
Yeah. Yeah, but the returning warrior parade motif is very, very important for the psychology of the warriors, because, Grossman talks about this in the Killology book. So that whole ritual of celebrating and giving
awards,
ribbons and awards, those are all things theoretically to help the soldier deal with the psychological ramifications that they crossed the line of the ultimate taboo, which was they killed someone.
Yeah.
And so the parade functions to let the community tell those warriors what you did was the right thing. Yada yada yada. Whether or not what they did was the right thing, because the vast majority, in the A&E or Rome, when you have the little, but it was about celebrating the fact that they were conquerors. So it wasn't objectively the right thing, but the parade functions so that the community can tell these warriors who have blood on their hands that it was good and right what they did, and what they did should be celebrated. So when you come home. And that's why a lot of these, Vietnam vets, take their, medals or whatever and throw it over the fence. But when they come home, and not only are they not met with a parade, but they're met with, you're this, you're that, blah, blah, blah.
And they were spit on and...
Yeah, like, and interesting, the storyline in that particular war was, this is going to be a communist stronghold. If the communists get a foothold, it's kind of like Cold War stuff and proxy wars between us and Russia, which really is what Vietnam was. So I can definitely, there's a Tom Cruise movie, like, I forgot what it's called, like Born in the USA or something like that. And he he gets basically, he has to go to war. Like, he signs up and he volunteers to go to war. And it was just a very powerful movie because it, you know, it shows how idealistic Tom Cruise was at the beginning, and then at the end, you know, he pays so many prices for, you know, joining the military. No, during the Vietnam era. So it's just a crazy situation that those guys went through, and it's a similar thing, you know, with the Iraq and Afghanistan war. Like, you know, especially 2006, 2007-ish, it really, well, really before that, around 2004, 2005, because of the elections, it really started getting ramped up about how terrible the war was. And so there was an election season, and I think one of the things that the Democratic Party kind of mismanaged was that they demonized soldiers because they were saying this was an illegitimate war, which it was, but there was no like consideration for how that was going to fall in the ears of the soldiers, people who lost friends.
Oh yeah.
And then of course, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly certain, but John Kerry basically says like, no, that was after he lost to Bush. But so John Kerry was one of these guys that was actually in Vietnam, put in work, and then you had Bush, who never saw a day of combat in his life, and here you have Bush war hawking, acting like he's like the alpha dog, and then you had John Kerry, who actually went to war. And so it's just a weird, but during that period, like the Democrats, like anything having to do with the war got swept under the rug, you know, just got completely generalized as bad and all that, and there was no sort of, and you know, Kerry was an interesting cat because he went into a war he didn't necessarily believe in, and we got dragged into a war in Vietnam that was, you know, largely based on lies, and yet Kerry voted for the Iraq war. So then, around 2004-ish, 2003, 2004, we see we've been there for X amount of years. You know, there's no WMBs, so then the whole culture shifted and said, what the hell, there are no WMBs, what's going on? So then Kerry flipped, you know, he had the pro-war position, then he took the anti-war position, and Bush used that. It was like, oh, you're a flip-flopper, da-da-da-da-da, so...
People change when you see things.
Yeah, so you know, obviously I think Kerry had more experience and he could relate to the soldier on the ground level, but I don't think that they did a very good job of like cashing in on that. You know what I mean? So of course hindsight's always 20/20, but yeah, the way that soldiers are treated is insane. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy to me.
Yeah, and then you know when he said, "Father, well, I'll give my soul to you. I came in blindfolded to you. It was all I knew. Open your arms and I'll fly out of hell up to you."
Yeah.
I wish it was true. Like, it was, to me, that was kind of like, you know, the hell that the soldier, okay, so the soldier goes and they fight, but then they come back and they have to deal with the mental ramifications of everything that went on that they saw and they participated in, or that they, you know, there's a lot, you know, and I have never had that experience, but just talking to other people who have been in that situation, it sounds like it's a pretty traumatic. And the thing is too, like, you know, there's some people that you look at and you're like, that person is really mentally weak. But then there are other people that you can tell, like, they're just rugged, hard, stronger people. And it's those type of people that even are, like, having such a hard time. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, obviously we need something better. And I was talking to one guy and he was saying that basically when he got back and they gave him a 6-hour class to help him get over everything. It's like a 6-hour class. Are you serious? That's literally insane. How is this possible?
This is where we are. Yeah.
You know, you see a lot of vets just not being taken care of, and when he said that last line, "Home of the brave and the free, the red, white, and blue," I wish it was true, because you know we don't take care of them like they should be cared for.
Yeah. Who did you interpret Mother to be? Did you interpret that literally or figuratively?
I went literal with that, but I think that you could go both ways with that, really. But I took it literally. It was literally his mother.
What about father?
Father was God.
Yeah.
At first I was like, what, he's giving his soul to his dad? Like, I've heard a lot of people say a lot of different things about their dads, but I've never heard anyone say, I gave my soul to my dad. And
right.
I'm
right,
like,
right.
that's literally sounds like something you would say, obviously, to God.
Right.
And then when it progressed and he was saying, open your arms and I'll fly out of hell to you. I can't even blindfold. Yeah. But I could see how you could interpret mother as the USA.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it might be.
I did wrong and I knew.
It might be both because you know, if you're in America, there's a lot of times there's in certain regions where you are preconditioned by your mother and your dad to view the military as the highest calling. See what I'm saying? So like in a lot of southern states and things like that, there's this tradition, your father was one, your grandfather was one, your great-grandfather fought in World War II, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And so there's a sense in which you get preconditioned and, you know, your parents are kind of like stand-ins for, you know, the motherland and Uncle Sam. You know, Uncle Sam wants you, that's the male side, and then you've got, you know, this is the motherland, yada, yada, this is our motherland. So that's kind of how we interpreted mother and father. And then, you know, when he's talking about digging a grave for you, I think either he's saying he's burying his own mother, which would be the country, because, you know, this is such a horrible thing that happened to our country that we're never going to recover. Or he's talking about he's digging a grave for the people that he killed on behalf of his mother.
If I'm going to take it figuratively, then I would say he's burying the ideals he had about America.
Oh, yeah. That's a better one. Yeah. Yeah, that moment of dissolution, man, is a very, very painful moment.
Because he said it was all I could do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm digging a grave for you is all I could do. Like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very, you know, it's a very, very painful moment when people get disillusioned. And so, you know, I think that's one of the main reasons that you have these guys, you know, killing themselves, because, you know, they're really disillusioned and they're walking around wounded on top of the fact that they've killed people and they have to deal with that.
Yeah.
You've lost friends, you know, if you're in infantry, like you are guaranteed you've lost friends, you know, you've seen people bleed out in front of you that you love. I mean, these guys are just carrying a lot of wounds, you know, but they come.
And the survivor's guilt, you know, like.
Yeah.
Especially if it's close combat and somebody beside you gets it and you don't, like, that's like.
Yeah.
Or, you know, or if you were supposed to be in that spot and then there was like a switch, you know, like there's just.
Yeah.
And I think that there's some things that traumatize you to such a point that you don't get past them. And that's why we talk about PTSD and stuff like that. Like, there's some events that traumatize you to such a degree that you hear another noise that's not related to that event at all, and it brings it right back, and you're there again.
Fireworks, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's such a crazy situation, and again, like the Republicans did it too, right? Like, so here's what would happen, and like I said, the American soldier was being used as a chess piece, you know, because it's like, you know, they would be against the war, so a Democrat would be against the war, and then the Republicans would just spin around and say, "Oh, you don't support the troops." You know what I'm saying? So nobody's thinking about the ramifications of that, which is if the majority of America believes that the Democratic Party does not care about troops, then they're going to vote Republican, which then would ensure that the troops stay within harm's way. Mm-hmm. And so that little red herring accusation was used with great effect by the Republican Party. But again, that was a situation in which, again, the troops were used as pawns. Mm-hmm. Because honestly, the safest thing for an American soldier and the safest place for an American soldier to be is in America, not in Iraq in the middle of a war zone.
Right.
But they were never able to overcome that very clever, you know, sleight of mind, as you could say. It's, you know, Republicans on strategy, man, like, forget it. Just forget it. I mean, these dudes, you can't really screw them. You know, there's always like some, you know, Cheney figure in the background or Steve Bannon figure in the background that, is the mastermind and comes up with this stuff. And there's really no equivalent on the Democrat side that has that sort of, maniacal tendency toward, predicting human nature and then making moves on those assumptions. Like, that's a very, very intricate discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, come out from the cold. You're lost outside there, don't you know? It's not what you say, what you do. Just keep wishing your wishes are true. Well, your dreams are their reality. There's no pain, there's no misery. Just polish the blood and the bruise. So there's just no way you can lose, but I wish it was true. I think that one is, maybe he's talking to himself there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's maybe wishing he actually had a father figure who could give him some guidance after that situation. After being through all that carnage that he's been through.
Yeah.
And keep wishing everything is true. No pain, no misery.
Yeah.
You got bloody and bruised, but that's okay. Just polish it up.
Polish it away.
And maybe that's him saying, like, because a lot of people do not want to give these dudes time to reintegrate. So, like, a lot of wives don't want to wait for that. Kids don't want to wait for that, especially at certain ages. Like, they're just supposed to come back here and, like, reacclimate immediately. Yeah, you got bloodied and bruised. Polish it and, just project to people what they want to see, and you can't lose.
It's hard. I mean, I'm not married to somebody that left for the military and we were married and then came back. Yeah, I'm not in that situation, but I could imagine that your life stays the same here. You just don't have them. And so they're the only missing piece in your world. Everything else stays the same. Yeah. But for them, their entire world is completely thrown upside down. No, they're not with their family, but they're seeing all this tragedy and they're going through all these different things. And so they change so drastically as a person. And when he returns or she returns from the war and comes back, like, the person that's been waiting just wants to get back to life as usual. I've been waiting all this time. And, a lot of times they would end up getting cheated on, or the person would leave them because they didn't want to stick around. It was just too long. And so the person that sticks around is like, I've been waiting all this time. Like, engage, you know what I mean? But that person comes back in need of so much healing. And so I think that neither one can really see where the other one is coming from, and I'm sure that the person coming back from the war would be looking at the other person like, oh, can't you be at least a little bit sympathetic toward the issues that are going on? And you've said it before, like watching the different documentaries and different things like that, where the wife will be like upset about something that's a big deal to her, and he's like, you broke a nail. It wasn't that you blew your hand off, or you know what I mean? Like, but to her, breaking the nail has always been a big deal, and that is the biggest deal in her life currently. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I think that it creates a situation where, and I think this is just an assumption. I don't really know. I would think that he doesn't want to talk about what he's seen with her. Because remember that movie? We watched a movie where the guy went away, and then when he got back, like, his family and everybody was like, did you kill somebody? Everybody kept asking, did you kill somebody?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It just, like, he didn't want to relive that with those people, and he didn't want to be looked at like some experiment or something. Like, he had been through a lot, and now those questions did not help him, people's morbid curiosity. And so it seems to me like he wouldn't want to I'm just using him and her in this just to make it simple. I know that women go away and women can come back to their families and stuff, but he comes back to her and he's not talking about what he saw, and so she doesn't understand where he's coming from. And so he might be looking at her as like, wow, she's incredibly insensitive. But at the same time, because he's so silent on the matter, she doesn't really know what he went through.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of, I think, creates this chasm. And I wonder, how often, like, what the rates are where that it never really gets rectified. It seemed like we watched, remember that show, Homeland?
Mm-hmm.
And he came back, and it just was like not the way that all the engagements everything was different. And
you just have to manage your expectations. Your husband's not going to come back as the person you married, and neither is your dad. And you just have to manage those expectations. But
Yeah.
nobody's... And, you know, a lot of the times when dudes are over there, especially if they're in a combat MOS, you know, the wife is just scared to death about them dying.
Yeah.
So they don't have room for mental preparation
Yep.
to go, okay, this is what I should expect. Like, all of her energy is going into hoping he doesn't die.
Ugh.
Or trying to stay
I
busy
can't
enough.
imagine being in that situation.
Trying to stay
Oh
busy
my
enough
gosh.
so that you don't have to
Doesn't
use your
go
mind.
crazy.
So they're both in such a uniquely horrible circumstance in which neither one of them can relate to the other. Because the guy in the field cannot relate to having a spouse on the field who they could get a phone call or a walk.
Well, yeah.
And
Because you don't know. You could be in this moment, they're already dead, but you just haven't gotten the call yet.
Right.
So just because you haven't gotten the call doesn't mean everything's okay.
Right.
But if you were out on the field, you know definitively you're not dead yet.
I would know. Right.
You know?
And if I didn't
So you
know,
don't have that stress.
That means I'm dead.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, and so that's the thing where guys miss the boat too, is like to say, yeah, the broken fingernail isn't anything, but maybe it's a subliminal way of your wife trying to go back to a point in time when the broken fingernail was important to both of you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't really think that's really important to her anymore. Because now she's got a husband that's completely different, but she's going to use that as an excuse to cry because she doesn't know what to do. You know, it's just a horrible situation, and that's why wars should be avoided, and our occupation of other countries must be shortened as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
And, you know, kudos to Trump, like he's making serious moves to try to get us the hell out of Afghanistan. And now you've got a lot of Democrats who, just because it was a Trump initiative, are trying to block that from happening. So once again, these dudes are getting used as chess. It's just unbelievable to me, these politicians. Unbelievable. The left and the right, I don't care. What do you get song?
Well, I'm always going to be a sucker for anything that sounds country, so...
Yeah, this is definitely a country song.
It's a 9.2 for me.
9 point, yeah, I'll rock with a 9.2. Very, very, very good song. Shout out to all the veterans. Seriously, whether you were in a combat MOS or you were the mess guy, doesn't matter.
Yep.
Shout out to all the veterans. Vin out.
Sorry, out.
Gone.
Mother, I tried to do right by you, to do what you asked me to. I did wrong and I knew. Mother, I try to behave for you. Now I'm a digging a grave for you. It was all I could do. Find a way back home, make everything new. Well, I wish it was true. Father, well, I gave my soul to you. I came in blindfolded for you. It was all that I knew. Open your arms and I'll fly out of hell up to you. I wish it was true. Come on out from the cold. You're lost outside there, don't you know? It's not what you say, it's what you do. Just keep wishing your wishes are true. With your dreams, they're reality. There's no pain, there's no misery. Just polish the blood and the bruise. There's just no way you can lose.